I wanted to share with you more about some of our dissemination findings, because this was really quite exciting for us. We found that at the end, and our goal is we wean down our time in the site and we transition it to a champion within the site. And in fact, that was happening. We had champions that stood up, they took it on. We worked a lot with them in the second half of the year. Function-focused care is now part of the education in these sites, so that we wrote their educational material in this way for their new staff. And for those of you who work in this arena, you know that that's a lot of people. There's a lot of turnover. And sometimes it's a good thing. There was also a change in the service plans, and service plans are required. That's kind of what you're providing for this client. Everybody now in the service plan is written in there. Everybody now has 3 function-focused care goals, whether they want them or not. And then we did a lot of increased communication with the other departments, particularly therapies. We also changed the environment and the marketing material. Some of the physical environments changed. We actually got facilities to do some things that were cheap, and we did not require, mind you, these intervention studies all happen at a time when the world is crashing here, and these industries are in big trouble. But we did get them to do things like put out chairs so that people could have a place to sit along a walking path. I do have one facility that's interested in buying some more expensive outdoor material to make walking safe, which is pretty exciting, and revitalizing some of their outside areas for walking. And then we institutionalized things like walking groups and some new exercise classes. The other thing we did was to work with the sites. They changed their websites and, as I said, some of their marketing material so that it highlighted their function-focused care approach. And also we worked with the marketing staff to change how they talk with families, because this is a big problem. If you market that we're going to take care of mommy, then that's going to be the expectation. But instead we try and get them to highlight the fact that we are going to help your parent or your loved one do as much as possible for themselves to increase their physical activity, and actually it will decrease your cost because you're paying. It's a very much pay-for-service need. What was really very exciting is to see the increase, as we often do, but to focus more on it, is the non-consented staff that engaged. Both non-consented residents and non-consented direct care workers. As we do these studies, we work at the site level. We literally recruit so that we can collect some data, but we implement. It doesn't matter whether you're consented or not, you come to a class. You're invited. Sometimes the interventionist doesn't even know who's consented because we work at the site level. We also institutionalize more intensive exercise classes. A lot of them are kind of low-level range of motion, and we really nudged it up so they were a little bit more aerobic. Big bands were a favorite. I can show you what a big band is at some other point if you want to know. And in one of our sites, they're actually sending 2 of their staff to become certified exercise trainers. Then a lot of the motivational tricks of the trade were institutionalized. One of them, Gifts of the Heart, I have a picture of. And, you know, it's just the residents got a little ticket if they went to an exercise class, and then they could trade them in. It's a big favorite, but you got to live in these sites to appreciate it. And then we also institutionalized staff recognition. There was a photo board in the lobby recognizing staff. A big part, some of this is our heart and soul, is to acknowledge these staff that are doing phenomenal work in these sites. Parking spot for recognized staff, those kinds of things. And a cute one on the nomination, our function-focused care nurse, they actually, one of the residents wanted to nominate her, and it was like, no, I'm not really staff. And that's a picture of the board, and you can see the little stars, and they're very low level, very cheap, but very much appreciated by the staff. Just to give you an example, at a town hall meeting, one of the non-consented residents stood up and verbalized how important she thinks exercise is and how much she likes the Gifts of the Heart program. She wanted to be sure the community would keep things going when the study was over. And the residents' comments actually, were heard by the administration and helped us formalize exercise at a higher level within the site. And I just wanted to acknowledge our team and just take a minute to tell you a little bit about our dissemination activities. We've had several publications already, and for those of you who haven't seen the inquiry journal, we did one for geriatric nursing for the aging stuff, and have several presentations. I have a revised function-focused care book coming out where we'll include a lot of this. And we have several studies that are now going on with more severely impaired, cognitively impaired older adults. That's the important team. Yes.
There's an opportunity for questions. Are there questions?
Dr. Resnick, what percentage of the direct care workers were already certified as nursing assistants? Do you have that information?
I do have that information. I could get it for you.
High, low?
I would say it's about 50-50, but part of the reason for that is CCRCs tend to have certified versus freestanding ALs. So that would be, yeah. And some of that is pay, culture, that kind of thing.
With your profile of your direct care worker, it seems like you got lucky in terms of you got the people that have long tenure, because the turnover in the industry is at 50%. So how do you deal with the fact that you're talking about a select group of staff who are better than?
And that, my feeling about that is if it was a different staff, I think in some ways we could have an even greater impact. I was trying to make the good gooder.
And really also, I mean, we really are, as the introduction to this whole session, we're really talking about systems change. And granted, I mean, it's a modest study, but I think that we're showing that it is able to institute systems change. So even dealing with turnover of staff, if it really is gotten institutionalized at that level, hopefully that will be able to combat some of the turnover problems.
We also, I mean, Maryland has an interesting, I think, from comparatively to the rest of the country, very well educated. That is amazing to me. We also have less issues in terms of language compared to, I don't know if anyone's from California. It's I have colleagues out there. It's just a different world.
So Sheryl and Barbara, just fantastic work. Any differences between assisted living within CCRCs? I know this is small versus freestanding.
I can send you the paper because our baseline paper actually addresses that there are differences, even things. The biggest difference, which is consistent, is when people transition or get transitioned. It happens a lot sooner in CCRC settings. It's actually partly why I'm not presenting the 12-month data, is trying to flesh that piece out. In the CCRCs, because you have an easy way to put somebody into a nursing home, that just happens, versus freestanding where you have families who say, nope, they're staying here. And so the they're functionally more impaired in the freestanding. That's the biggest difference in terms of staff and, the other general characteristics, no.
So taking that further, in outcomes, are you seeing?
I don't know yet. But that's my concern, is that piece is getting mushed in there. And actually, we controlled for clustering.
Yeah.
which does not seem to matter. So it's not strong enough, but there is that. It's probably more with the transition piece.
And yeah, and it'll affect attrition,
Yeah.
obviously, which is going to be the issue in the analyses, yes. Great.
Yeah, it's more like it looks like they're going more to the nursing home, but that's why.
You said that there are more functionally impaired in the freestanding. Is that because they wait a long time before they get in there?
No, it's actually over the 12 months as well. Yeah, it's more it's more an issue, not that they're getting in there later, it's more an issue that in the freestanding, they're staying there when, if it's easy to put somebody into a nursing home, like in a CCRC, you don't even really have to move out of the site, then it just happens. It's also, it's a big payment issue and family choice issue.
Right, because as soon, in a freestanding, as soon as they move out of the assisted living, you've lost your customer.
Yeah. So it's, it makes a big difference for those of you who do nighttime care issue in acute care. Ooh, in these settings, it's even more fascinating. Ooh. Yeah. Well, because we do the intervention 24/7, and so it was, some of those early mornings were rough.
Thank you very much.